Welcome to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran and former brick-and-mortar boutique owner who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. I wanted to start this episode by saying, what the fuck is going on over at Instagram? Now, I don't pretend to be an Instagram expert. I haven't posted on the platform since December, but I'm still keeping a pretty close eye on all the latest updates and what my go-to educators are testing and talking about. My role here is to report, clarify, and give you my thoughts on what to consider as you decide on your best next steps. If this is the first time you're hearing about these changes, I'm going to stick a whole bunch of links in the show notes where you can learn more about them. So there are 2 big algorithm changes that were announced last week, and they have the Instagram community up in arms. First is the prioritization of small creators, and the second, the removal of reposted content from recommendations. First, let's talk about giving more visibility to small creators. This change has already started to be implemented, and the idea is that instead of only recommending large creators to people who don't follow them, Instagram is going to start recommending content from smaller creators to see how it performs. If the content does well, it will continue to recommend it to larger groups of people. As someone who sees a lot of the same garbage content from the same big creators that I'm not actually interested in, this sounds great. And as long as Instagram can get their recommendations right, I'm cautiously optimistic that this should yield a net positive result for smaller players on the platform. As you can imagine, larger creators are pissed because they feel like they're being punished for being successful. And unlike money, there is not an endless supply of attention on Instagram. Some of them have actually resorted to starting new accounts, a tactic they implemented a few months ago, and so far, their theories have panned out. They're seeing significantly more reach on the new account than they are with hundreds of thousands of followers on their existing account. The unfortunate thing is that nowhere in this announcement was any talk of actually increasing your reach to your existing followers, which is the biggest complaint from accounts of all sizes. And they didn't clarify what counts as a small creator. The CEO of Instagram, he does these creator spotlights, and the most recent one he did was an account with over 750,000 followers. So if that counts as small, hopefully they'll give a little extra love to micro accounts. Otherwise, we'll likely get just as lost in the Instagram ether as we do now. It kind of sounds more like TikTok's algorithm, and not everyone is happy about that. Those who prefer Instagram value its sense of community, but making changes like this versus ensuring their followers see their post isn't going to help them foster that. The timing on this is also interesting considering the government is on a mission to ban TikTok. The complaints of reach have been happening for a long time, so it's possible they're not at all related. The prioritizing of original content apparently isn't going into effect until summer. Like, what does that even mean? Because summer isn't that far away, but it's a significant change on the platform. The idea is that accounts who only repost other people's content without putting their own spin on it are no longer going to be recommended. Instead, if a repost is recommended, Instagram is going to try and locate the original piece of content and push that one instead, along with adding a badge to the reposted version, calling out that it was reposted. As expected, the response to this one was a mixed bag. Aggregator accounts who don't post original content are mad. Some of them rightfully, and I have air quotes here, rightfully so, because the goal of their account is to spread other people's work. That sentiment was, of course, challenged among the community, calling out some specific accounts saying they post the same stuff over and over again, or saying that they just steal other people's content. On the flip side of that, there was a general positive sentiment from true creators who likely appreciate they will be credited for their hard work. Instagram specifically said that if you put your own spin on something, remix something, create a meme of something, that is still considered original content, just as reposting your own content will be. And aggregator accounts will still be able to reach their own followers, they just won't be recommended. For most product-based business owners, I don't expect this to have a direct impact on your reach because you're probably not reposting much content from other creators. Maybe it will have an indirect impact in that people's feeds won't be flooded with regurgitated content from aggregator accounts, which as an Instagram consumer, I'm happy about. My main concern on this one is how good is Instagram going to be at identifying the original content and what's the margin of error? I truly understand that the algorithm is way smarter than the human mind, but who knows? Only time will tell. So in theory, all of this is supposed to help people get reach, but why is reach down in the first place? And reach being down is very frustrating and is why I haven't bothered to prioritize the platform. But I imagine that serving up Instagram posts in a way that benefits everyone is probably harder than it sounds. I think the statistic I read was that there are 95 million posts shared on the platform each day. And while I'd love to give Instagram the benefit of the doubt, the truth is they probably just want us to pay to play because that's how they make money. And at the end of the day, they're a business. It's the same reason they're requiring product-based business owners with shops to allow checkout on their app versus only directing them to the website. And as annoying as this is, as you've heard me say before, in reality, they don't owe us anything. Before social media, there was no free way to market our businesses, and so when I get irritated at the state of social, I remind myself that these platforms are a privilege. Do I wish they would just come out and say, we want you to pay to play instead of all the bullshit that they spew? Yes. Are they going to? I'm now holding my breath. There were 2 posts that Adam, Instagram's CEO, recently made. One was about how the chronological feed, which is what everyone keeps saying they want, actually decreases reach and engagement over time. And the other one was how we should all be focused on engagement over follower count. I think it was the latter where the comments were on fire with people saying, stop gaslighting us. How can we get engagement if even our followers can't see our posts? Just admit you want us to pay for reach. And I found myself nodding along yeah, seriously. Not to mention the front page of Instagram Business has 2 sections promoting ads, more specifically their boost ads. Unfortunately, whether it's true or not doesn't really matter because we don't have control over it. All we can do is focus on the things we can control. Last year around this time, I released an episode of the podcast talking all about this. How to make the most of your current visibility and stop fighting the algorithm. If Instagram is part of your marketing strategy and you've been struggling on the platform, please go listen to it. It's still all relevant. It's episode 222, and I'll stick a link in the show notes for you. All of that said, let's talk about some of the things that do seem to be working on the platform right now, according to some of my most trusted educators. Number 1, less polished and more raw content. While more authentic content has been on the rise for a while, who else is sick of the word authentic? There was a blip of time where the super produced videos with AI inserted stock videos, emojis, and cool captions were having a moment. That seems to be on its way out, and a couple of people had been testing this, and their data shows that their less polished videos are performing better. And the overproduced ones are getting less views. Now, this is actually great news because it means you don't have to put as much work into the content that you create. Of course, this isn't going to translate for everything that you do, but if you're the face of your brand, don't worry about creating the most beautiful videos ever. Put yourself in front of a window, throw your phone on a tripod, and start sharing your products. Quantity over quality. Now, this does not mean that you just post shit content, but it does mean that you can stop spinning your wheels trying to create the perfect post and settle for B+ or even C work. This also means that posting more frequently, while the reach and engagement on each individual piece of content might be lower, your overall account reach and engagement will likely go up. Does this mean that you should start posting 3 times per day tomorrow? Be consistent for 2 weeks, get burnt out, and then stop posting for 5 months like I did? No, you should not. You will want to prioritize consistency and pick a cadence you can stick to. But it does mean instead of spending an hour on one post, if you can create 2 lower quality posts in the same amount of time, that's going to serve you better in the long run. Another thing that seems to be working on Instagram right now are broadcast channels. Now, the broadcast channel has been around for a while. It was released over a year ago, but it rolled out slowly and didn't get quite the same amount of attention as other features of Instagram. If reaching your existing audience is one of your main issues on the platform, a broadcast channel is a great way to ensure you can reach them. Like most things in marketing, you'll need to be able to be consistent about it, but like SMS, it's going to be a bit more intrusive than a post on your feed or a story, so you also don't want to bombard your audience. The cool thing about broadcast channels is when you create it and send your first message, it will invite all of your followers. And there's an invite link that you can share to ask people to join as well. Of course, not all of your followers will join, but the ones who do are going to be your diehard fans. And it's a great place to create a deeper connection with your people. Give them early access to product launches, get their feedback. Maybe you give them special VIP deals. You get the gist. You'll also want to start thinking about creating wider reaching content. Not that you don't want to be focused on your products or that you should be posting things that aren't relevant to what you sell, but how can you zoom out and cast a wider net? In my GIN method, something I teach in the Lounge membership and Content Badassery, the G stands for growth. This is the type of content whose job is to grow your audience and reach more people. It's focused more on the lifestyle of your audience overall and not super product specific, though it can still feature your product. It might be entertaining, it might be educational, it might just be relatable, but it's highly shareable. If you're not sure what this content should be, ask yourself what else your audience and perfect customer cares about related to your product or industry. That's the type of content that fits into the growth bucket. So what's the moral of today's story? Well, you ultimately have to decide how important Instagram is to your business. If it is, then you need to work within the confines of the platform and the algorithm. Get creative, grow your email list, post more frequently, put a little money behind your posts to get them in front of your people. There's a lot of things you can do to capitalize on the reach that you are getting. And I go deeper into those specifics of leveraging the platform in episode 222. So make sure you check that one out if you need some inspiration of what to do next. And if after all of that, you decide Instagram isn't all that important for you or you're just sick and tired of it, maybe it's time for you to put your focus somewhere else. Remember, social media, even if you're not spending money on ads and you're not outsourcing social to someone else, is not free. It's still time, energy, effort, and for some of us, aggravation. So if it's a struggle, your time might be better spent somewhere else. I actually talked about this on an episode with Larissa Loden, so I'll stick a link in the show notes to that too. So you're going to have the Instagram episode, the Larissa episode, and then there's a whole bunch of other resources I've put there for you. So go to ecommercebadassery.com/278 to get all of those links in one place. And that, my friends, is a wrap. I know Instagram is a contentious subject. So I'm hoping that if nothing else, today just sparked some ideas for you or gave you a new perspective and a new way to look at what we're dealing with here. And with all of these changes, we're just going to have to wait it out and see what happens. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a kick-ass rest of your day, and I'll see you on the flip side, friend. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to learn more about growing your e-commerce business, get started with my free resource library at ecommercebadassery.com/free stuff and get an invite to the Lounge, my e-commerce marketing membership. When you're ready for one-on-one support, apply to work with me at ecommercebadassery.com/apply. Before you go, would you do me a quick favor? Leave a rating and review and tap that follow button. This pushes me up the chart so I can support more scrappy e-commerce entrepreneurs just like you. I'm on a mission to reach as many as I can, and I could really use your help. Thanks so much in advance. Until next time, e-commerce friend, stay badass.